Charlie Parker, Howard McGee, Dexter Gordon, prime contributors to modern jazz, each in his own way, and key influences in Teddy Edwards' life. Teddy was 18 when he first heard the astonishing music of the Yardbird. That was in Detroit back in 1942. Like Bird, Teddy was playing alto sax at the time. The impact of Parker's genius on Teddy's life was to help shape his whole musical future. Howard McGee also helped determine Teddy's future. When Teddy moved to Los Angeles 2 years later, Howard invited Teddy to join his new band, but he insisted that he change to the tenor sax. Well, Teddy was ready, and a future boss tenor was born. Dexter Gordon, long, tall Dexter. In 1948, Dexter was acknowledged as one of the top tenor men in jazz, but his eminence was to be challenged that year by 24-year-old Teddy. The challenge to Dexter was a hard-fought battle of the tenors on a 1948 record called The Duel. Also recorded on that same date was Teddy's well-known Blues in Teddy's Flat. Well, shortly after this, a new movement in jazz, sometimes called the West Coast School, began to stir in Southern California. West Coast jazz and Teddy Edwards just didn't gel. In his own words, I guess I just didn't fit in. What was Teddy's music? Well, basically, it's the same today as it was then, swinging hard. And listen now to a fine example of the Edwards approach as Teddy and his sextet play the most requested selection in their book, Teddy's own composition, Sunset Eyes. got that message, Teddy. I'm sorry this thing pulled loose. What are you going to play for us next?
Well, we'd like to do an instrumental version of a tune that was written as a ballad with a lyric. It's called Afraid of Love.
Yeah.
I'll play the first chorus, and Richard Boone will play some very interesting upper register trombone on the bridge.
Crazy.
And he'll leave it to Freddie Hill, who rounds it out with a very fine trumpet coda.
Good.
I'd like you to meet the rest of the guys that are supporting us all. Our pianist, John Houston.
Hey, John.
Stan Gilbert, bass.
Hi, Stan. Howdy.
And young Doug Sides at the drums.
Well, thank you very much, Teddy. Here we are, Afraid of Love. The name of this album and the name of the next number are the same. On the record, though, it was concocted by the Teddy Edwards Quartet. Right now, the cooks are Teddy Edwards Sextet. Listen closely for the exchange of dialogue between Teddy's tenor, the trombone, and the trumpet. It's a sort of question and answer period. Then when you hear that dramatic drop in volume, you'll know it's to set up Teddy's final solo. Right now, let's hear Teddy mix up a bowl of that good gravy. come on over here. Man, it's been a real pleasure for us having you on the jazz scene. You guys are really cooking. You're just sounding beautiful. Have a seat. Have a seat. Say, you're keeping pretty busy these days in the recording studios and clubs, right?
Well, things are going on pretty good. I made 2 albums recently that I'm very proud to be a part of.
Well, tell us what they are.
Well, Swinging with Humes, Miss Helen Humes on Contemporary Records.
Be beautiful.
And another wonderful album, You Better Believe It. Gerald Wilson Big Band on World Pacific Records.
Oh, man, that sounds wonderful. Hey, you know, I really dug the number you guys are going to close the show with. What's that called?
Velvet Mist.
Oh, that sounds like a ballad title.
Well, it was originally intended to be a ballad, but after trying it up tempo, we decided to leave it there.
Well, it sure works. Well, you go count them off.
Good enough.
Wrapping it up, here's Teddy, the Sextet, and a beautiful ballad that's now jumping, Velvet Mist. Until next time, our thanks to Teddy Edwards Sextet for playing and you for watching and listening. Oscar Brown Jr. Later.
And blood at the root. Black bodies swinging in the southern breeze. Strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees.
Strange Fruit is a song about a black man being hung, lynched. And it's very dramatic, especially the way Billie Holiday did it.
The song Strange Fruit caused such controversy when it was first heard that music publishers didn't want to touch it and radio stations refused to air it.
Music has always gone along with great movements. There are no great movements that do not have music. Even as early as this song was, it was helping to create the music for a movement.
Phonograph recording keeps advancing steadily as modern engineering skill brings to it the latest developments in sound reproduction.
It was the year 1939. Billie Holiday came into my shop one day. I had a record shop, Commodore Music Shop. She came into the store very unhappy that Columbia Records was hesitating and didn't really want to record Strange Fruit.
People thought that Billie Holiday was born in Baltimore, but she was actually born in Philadelphia. But she was raised in Baltimore. As a young teenager, she came up to Harlem. At that time, many, many people were moving to northern cities, and she was one of them. She started working in Harlem nightclubs, singing. When she first encountered Strange Fruit, she was in her very early 20s. At the time, Billie Holiday was kind of reluctant to sing it. Some people have said she was reluctant to sing it because she didn't know what it meant. And that's an argument that I find incredibly offensive. I think she was reluctant to sing it because it brought up the kinds of harsh images that she didn't want to necessarily put out there. It was very painful and very difficult. But she was absolutely convinced of the importance of recording the song. And she always said that from the very beginning. There's no evidence that Billie Holiday actually saw a lynching, but she would have grown up with a lore of lynching. It was utterly impossible for her as a black woman, particularly a black woman living in Harlem at that time, not to know about lynching. So she didn't really have to witness it firsthand to be very sensitive to that crime, that horrendous crime.
You hung somebody. You had no real evidence that they had done anything, but you hung them. You even brought a crowd in to enjoy this event. Then you would not only hang them by the neck, but you wanted to rip open their bodies and did so. You burned them to death, put a fire under them. Often you skinned their very faces. And this was met with applause. The crowd loved it. They were anxious to do it, all right? And men teaching their sons that this is what you do to them, right? This is, I don't know any kind of savagery that is worse than this.
Lynchings were done by common people who grew up believing that black people were not human, that they didn't deserve the same kind of rights and privileges as everyone else. And so taking their life made very little difference. And then they went and did their task, and then they went home and had fried chicken and scratched the puppy behind the ears and kissed the grandchildren and went to church.
How could you have Christianity? How could you have any form of religion, except these people were Christian? How could they even ask God to forgive them for such acts that they perpetrated knowingly, planned?
We see lynching emerging on the national scene as a way of policing black communities as early as 1890s, right after Reconstruction, when there's a sense that black people are making too many political and economic gains. Lynching was often used as a mean to contain and control a community that was overstepping its bounds politically and economically. But the reason given for lynching was that it was because of a rape of a white woman. Lynchings were often accompanied by the mutilation of the black body, the severing of the sex organs of the lynching victim. And that's something that Americans are fascinated by and ashamed of and quite afraid of, not just for its racial implications, but for the implications around sexuality. Those are the hidden scripts behind every lynching photograph or lynching story or lynching poem.
Pastoral scene of the gallant South. The bulging eyes and the twisted mouth. Scent of magnolia, sweet and fresh, and the sudden smell of burning flesh. Here is a fruit for the crows to pluck, for the rain to gather, for the wind to suck, for the sun to rot, for a tree to drop. Here is a strange and bitter crop.
When Billie Holiday first encounters Strange Fruit, she is performing at Cafe Society, New York's first truly integrated nightclub outside of Harlem. Located in Sheridan Square, in the heart of New York's Greenwich Village, the club is a novel social experiment. It is founded in 1938 by Barney Josephson, a former shoe salesman. Cafe Society parodies the affectations of so-called high society. Customers are greeted by doormen wearing rags, and playful murals adorn the walls. Yet it draws some of the most important entertainers of its era, and is visited by luminaries ranging from Paul Robeson to Eleanor Roosevelt.
What Cafe Society was a kind of merger in 1930s New York of European cabaret traditions, the traditions of Brecht and Weill that come out of Berlin and Vienna and Paris of the 1930s, and on the other hand, Afro-American jazz clubs of New York. In some ways, Strange Fruit was a kind of product of those two traditions coming together.
By the time Billie Holiday records Strange Fruit, it enters into the public discourse in both literature and painting about lynching.
Strange Fruit can be seen not as the only work about lynching, and I think that it brings together in a kind of powerful way what a number of other artists had been trying to do.
In 1935 and 36, the New York chapter of the NAACP organizes 2 shows of visual artwork addressing the subject of lynching. The artists are black, white, and Asian, and their efforts are part of a long history of anti-lynching activity.
The anti-lynching movement had been going on for some time before the recording of Strange Fruit. There were anti-lynching campaigns throughout the United States. Strange Fruit became not just a song of protest, but a kind of elegiac song, a song of mourning. And it was a song that also sparked a kind of activism for black communities.
There had been legislation introduced into Congress on many occasions to make lynching a federal offense. And each and every time it was filibustered or ruled over by Southern legislators.
During a 1940 effort to promote passage of a federal anti-lynching bill, the lyrics of Strange Fruit are sent to every member of Congress. Neither this tactic nor years of intensive lobbying by the NAACP ever succeeds. Federal anti-lynching legislation is never written into law.
Strange Fruit became a song that's been claimed by African Americans as part of an artistic tradition that's both beautiful, yet one born in protest. That was probably Billie Holiday's greatest contribution. She didn't write the song, but she certainly was the great communicator of that message.
I don't remember exactly when I heard Strange Fruit, but it caused a sensation in the neighborhood because they were lynching people in the South, and she dared to sing about it.
This song became Billie's in the sense that she had to go. She had to sing in places that she couldn't go in the front door. She could play at clubs that she couldn't sit at the table. Her mother or nobody could come, and sit there and watch her. She had to go to back doors, She couldn't live in the hotels with the white musicians. So I think she understood something about racism.
I think the song itself is a great song, and I think it is as great as it is because Billie has taken that material and being familiar, deeply familiar with the whole social context, the history, and the living confirmation of that. She puts it on, a whole other level.
Got to be Billie Holiday's piece, Strange Fruit. Nobody never thought to think about the lyricist or the composer. Initially, I tell you the truth, I thought a black person had written it. And it was my curiosity about Billie Holiday singing this song, and where did these lyrics come from? And this haunting music. And I wanted to find out, who was this person? Was he black or white? And amazingly, I found out not only was he white, he was Jewish American.
It is a Jewish school teacher from the Bronx who writes Strange Fruit. His name is Abel Meeropol, but he uses the pseudonym of Lewis Allen for his writing. Born in 1903 as the son of Russian immigrants, Meeropol grows up in the Bronx and graduates from DeWitt Clinton High School in 1921. He goes on to study at the City College of New York, earns a master's degree from Harvard in 1926, and returns to DeWitt Clinton as an English teacher the following year.
I first met Abel Meeropol when I got my first teaching appointment. I had joined the Teachers Union, and the Teachers Union people in the school were really the greatest. They were the brightest and the most active people. And so it was really a great time.
Don't marry a teacher unless he can feature
a button from Local 5.
At loving he's able, he's better than Gable, and
boy, he's got plenty of jive.
This was a rather well-known song that Abel did.
He wrote words, he wrote music, he, you know, just all around. And he was a real fun guy to be with. He was just delightful. We were not unaware of what was going on in the South, even though we lived in the Bronx.
We were very much aware.
Very aware.
Very much aware.
And the Teachers Union was very aware.
The 1930s is a period of great cultural ferment and upheaval. This was a period in which the Communist Party was achieving a great deal of significance because it's a combination of economic depression, the rise of fascism, the Spanish Civil War. All of these together provide a very fertile opportunity for the Communist Party to spread its message. There were a significant